DeChambeau has been out with a wrist injury, and you had to figure that he was not exactly going to be razor sharp going into the Masters in the first round. If anything, he's going to be, as they say, in the first round of any boxing match. Well, looks like they're in a little bit of a feeling out process. In other words, what a feeling out process is in boxing, there is zero action going on. Nothing is happening. Neither guy is throwing a punch. It looks like it's going to be the worst stiff of a match that you've ever seen in your life. And so, as an announcer, you fall back to the standard cliche description. Well, this looks like a little bit of a feeling out process. In other words, you're a lying scumbag, Mr. Announcer. This is the worst fight that you've ever seen, which I had the pleasure of calling the worst fight in history. Yes. And it's documented with over 2.3 million views on YouTube. Isn't that amazing?
The time.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
On a beautiful Wednesday morning, very special good morning, everybody. Glad to have you with us for this edition of the Defo Show. We crank it up once again. Jeff Deforrest and one Mike Lubitz here on Ion Channel, Jack Namer's fine organization. Be with you till about 9 o'clock this morning, Eastern Time. Although we did go into a little overtime yesterday because we were spellbound by the stories being told to us by, no, literally, Eric Reed. And he was given the history of how he got into the announcing game. And the guy's a phenomenon, 34 years with the Miami Heat, all 34 years. I think he's, I don't know how many people have been there since the inception. At one time, they were down to like 3 or 4. I guess we count Tony Fiorentino still in there. The coach, Tony Fiorentino, was an original member of the cast there. Now, Ron Rothstein was with the Heat originally, but he did depart and go elsewhere. He was a defensive coach and assistant coach with the Cleveland Cavs for a while, and then came back to the organization, was coaching their WNBA entry, which doesn't exist anymore, the Miami Soul. And, he was in and out of it and then came back now as an announcer. But Eric Reed, probably one of, I want to say maybe 3 guys that have been with the Heat since their inception. Now, he's been the TV voice for a long time now. He started out as the color analyst to a guy, Sam Smith? What was the guy's first name? Sam Smith. Was a real professional announcer. Talked very quickly, though, which I think you have to do if you're doing radio basketball play-by-play. It's lickety-split, Lubie, lickety-split. And so Sam Smith was doing a play-by-play, and there isn't a ton of room for the color analyst in a basketball radio broadcast. Having done both roles, there is time, to develop stuff, but something's happening all the time, and you're trying to paint a picture of where these guys are on the court. So the play-by-play guy is going to dominate. But Eric Reed always did a fine job. Merged then, I believe he started out, and when he got the play-by-play job, Sam Smith left the organization after a couple of years, and Eric took over. And then he got the TV gig, was doing ball games on TV. Great stuff from yesterday's show. We went about 15 minutes over the limit yesterday because it was so fascinating, and you can catch that on the archive. Just Google the Defo Show or click on Ion Channel, and you'll see yesterday's program. Eric got underway at about 8:40, and we didn't finish up till about 9:15. But great stuff, great analysis. And Lubie, you got your dream so far, and I know you like to get into this. I think you're changing. You're evolving as a sports fan into a much more mature and intelligent sports fan. You're not just the wild, capital, ambushing January 6th crazy man. Donald Trump says, charge, let's go down the block. Let's kidnap Pelosi.
Oh, God.
Whatever it was he wanted these people to do, they were willing to run down there and, storm the Capitol building, and you used to be like that. You would get all involved in, you know what, they need the number 2 seed, not the number 1 seed. The number 1 seed's no good because they might play Brooklyn. If they play Brooklyn, they might get knocked out. But my philosophy is just win as many games as you can. Don't get over-involved in, trying to think too much. And maybe there's not going to be a favorable matchup, but you know what they say, Lubie, to be the best, you have to beat the best.
Yes.
Common boxing cliche. You hear it in football a lot also, right? When a team gets knocked out of the playoffs by a team in the first round, and you say, well, you know what? If we were any good, we would have been able to beat this team. No, actually, teams start crying. They start making excuses. You could be a PR guy for a lot of these teams, especially the teams here in town where they lose and go, yeah, but they went on to win the championship. So, yeah, but you got knocked out in the first round. We'd be paying off in this Mayo bet if that happens again this year. which I have no inclination whatsoever to think that we're going to be buying dinner for Mike Mayo at a fine restaurant here in South Florida, Anthony's Runway 84. Anthony Bruno, one of the iconic restaurateurs anywhere in the world, and especially a staple of the South Florida restaurant landscape here, with so many home runs that this guy has hit. So it'll be a pleasure to be, as they close the restaurant for renovations, to be in there ordering virtually everything. Now,
A la Mayo.
all on Mayo. Yeah, no, this is all going to be on Mayo. And I have to give him credit, because he is now with the Panthers, who won again last night in overtime at home, and they have won in their last. They started out the season red hot, and they've been dynamite at home. They're setting home records that are unequaled in NHL history. I mean, going all the way back to like Toe Blake. And so with home ice advantage for the playoffs, you would have to think that in a 7-game series against virtually anybody, they hold at least somewhat of an edge, because they haven't been horrible on the road. They've been great. I mean, I believe they have the highest point total in the league right now.
They're now tied with the Avalanche with 110 points for number one in the entire NHL.
And they've been doing this all season long. See, this isn't some streak that they're on. They have won of their last 20 games. They are 17-2-1 of their last 20 games. And they started out the season red hot, and they kind of stayed hot. They had that one little streak there where they lost 4 in a row.
Yeah.
And remember, and I think that's when we made the wager. And, Mike Mayo, who's the gambling gourmet here on the show on Fridays, on our Degenerate Friday shows. And I'm with him every day, 12 to 1 on a local radio station here. And you can hear it around the world, around the country on the Odyssey radio app. That's Odyssey, like Audacious Odyssey radio app. And, he actually very nobly stepped up to the plate yesterday, because this restaurant's closing for renovations before the first series will be over, which we didn't realize that when we made the bet. Just a little oversight there. And sure enough, he offered to go ahead and pay off before the series was even completed. How about that? Even if they were down 0-2.
I mean, I wouldn't do it.
He's in a tenuous position.
I wouldn't do it because, again, with our luck, that would be the kiss of death for the Panthers.
Kiss of death if we do that. Kiss of death.
But I appreciate him being willing to do it. And look, if you're watching this team, it's not only that they've been good all year, they're good now. Like last night's game, they got down, even though they were outplaying the Ducks at home. And that third period, Duclair tied it with I think under 4 minutes left. And then in overtime, I felt bad for the goalie. He was making great saves, but the Panthers owned the overtime. Literally, they kept the puck in their side of the ice the entire time. And then Huberdeau makes a ridiculous-ass play, shoots it on net, gets a rebound, waits a second, and then poof. It was like, Jesus, this team is...
No, that goalie had to be feeling like Mickey Ward did around the 10th round of the Gotti fights. They have fired 17 shots versus 4. In the first period, and we're down 1-0, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Leading again to the one leak in the whole equation, which would be maybe Bobrovsky is starting to see bugs again, which is possible. But no, he was pretty much on target. I mean, they won the game 3-2. So that bet looks good. And then, getting back to this whole thing with the Heat, now the Brooklyn Nets played in the play-in game last night, 7 versus 8, and they took on the Cleveland Cavaliers, who had a really good season. Surprisingly so. They have some great dynamite young players, and they might be a factor in the future. In fact, there was speculation. People just speculate about the absolutely ridiculous so they can fill space on CBS Sportsline and all of these various websites. I mean, are they that desperate to create content? Because they were speculating yesterday in one of the articles I read that LeBron James is a discontent Laker player, doesn't want to be in L.A. anymore, wants to finish out his career as a winner, and is either going to Golden State to team up with Steph Curry, which he had said something. This reminded me of years ago when Dan Marino was asked a question after I guess, towards the tail end of a 6-10 season, the one losing season that Shula had when he had Marino, and I guess Marino's only outright losing season until... I don't know. Did they go under 500 late in his career when Jimmy was playing Damon Heward instead of Marino?
I don't think
insisting that Heward was the better quarterback.
I
don't remember.
They won every year except for that 1 or 2 years. Yeah, even at the end, they didn't finish strong, but they made playoffs and were competing.
I remember standing and they were still practicing at that dump. So this had to be in the 80s. They were still practicing at St. Thomas University, and Marino would come outside. It was an obligation, I guess, of NFL quarterbacks to come out on Wednesdays after whatever morning practice they had and speak to the media, which Marino hated it. He absolutely despised it. He would be pinned up against the wall there, and people would be asking him questions, and he'd be shrugging them off in like Belichick type fashion. Not as unpleasant in terms of his outward personality as Belichick, where you're thinking the one thing he wants to do is just get the bleep out of here as fast as he can. And somebody just said, "Hey, Dan, would you ever consider playing anywhere else?" Right? And Marino's response was, "Would I ever consider it? Yeah, I guess. I don't know. He gave a very vague answer, but it wasn't like he said, 'Hey, look, I want out of here.'" And the next day, blaring headlines everywhere, and the conversation changed 180 degrees about Dan Marino. Marino wants out, seeking trade, crazy stuff. So, you can't always buy into the idea that a guy's a malcontent, and they're speculating that LeBron James wants out of Los Angeles, which I don't know. Does he really want to leave Los Angeles at this point? Who would want to leave Los Angeles except me to come here and start this brilliant career, which look where it's led me here.
Right here.
I'm in my underwear in a bedroom, barking to the wind. At least we're on video. I mean, that's the good thing.
Yeah.
No, things are picking up, and it's great. I'm very excited about where we're at right now. It took a little while. Maybe it's going to happen like 4 or 5 months ago, but nonetheless, obstacles, as I discovered yesterday in my epiphany on my walk of life, are not necessarily meant to be easy to overcome, Grasshopper. They're not meant to be easy to. They wouldn't be obstacles if they were so easy to overcome. So sometimes you may have to take a step backwards to go forwards. I mean, we all know about that. I guess essentially we were tanking, Lubie, to find a better situation. We were forced into the tank, though. I mean, it wasn't like, we were shoved into the tank. In fact, it was a big tank of squid, like we were on Fear Factor, right? What do you mean? What do you mean you're going in another direction? Can't we go with you? That's always my response. I mean, yeah, we could dig that direction. That'll be fine. Yeah, sure.
I was like, what direction? What does that mean? This is like, what else can you go from here?
You want nondescript, meaningless, vague, specific sports talk?
Like you're already doing
people
nothing.
arguing, about nothing like this. What's that?
I was like, how can you do less? Like you're already doing nothing. Like,
nothing. Yeah.
So how can you do less than this? I'm like, I was actually dumb. I wasn't even mad. I was just confused. I was like, what direction? There's nowhere else to go.
Well, I mean, it's a sad state. I mean, I'm not saying this because I'm crying, because I'm very happy. I actually,
I thought it was funny.
even though it was a temporary setback financially a little bit, I mean, we weren't making the same money, obviously, that we were when we were at the height of what we were doing, because we were kind of running our own business out of iHeartMedia. And there was a lot of resentment about that because we were happy.
Yes.
And unfortunately, in that business right now, I mean, newspapers are in a shambles. This is what's happening with communications. And, radio as a medium is just, wow. I still love it. It's still among my favorite things. You heard Eric Reed yesterday talking about his love of radio. If you grew up as a sports fan and radio was your means of getting your information and listening to games, you had to use your imagination a little bit, obviously, to see the games. You couldn't just be kind of, laid out on the couch there, half spaced out and have some idea what happened, like happened with me with the Marlins game yesterday, which, by the way, is there some kind of conspiracy against the Marlins?
I don't know.
Do they just despise this franchise?
I've heard them bitching about umpiring every game so far, including
Did
like
you see
Marlins.
what happened last night? I don't want to get too deeply into this because we're talking about you're fetching about the Heat. And how you're one of those fans that wants your team to deliberately lose so they can be in a better position. That for my money never works. You know what? If it backfires that you won a lot of games in a regular season, so be it. And then that's what happens.
Won a lot of games.
At the so-called Tony's going to join us later. He would say at the moment of truth, you weren't good enough. I mean, it's just the way it goes. But, and you never know when you're going to catch a break in terms of timing. I mean, you can't gauge these things. I really believe this in life and in sports. You control your own destiny and just go out there and do the best you can every day. And if it's good enough, you're going to end up winning in the end. Now, you need a lot of luck in circumstances like this because, as I was saying, while the newspaper business is dead, right? I mean, you're talking about – I'm surprised they don't print all newspapers in red ink to be symbolic of where they're at right now. Probably because it's more money to print in color, right? But otherwise, they'd be doing that because they'd be just writing their own epitaph every day, never mind the headlines. And imagine a local radio station in South Florida as doing all sports. They have a couple of guys on there that are literally performing for free, not even getting paid. And you might have a situation, and it's playing out somewhat this way. I mean, obviously, a premature evaluation, which is always very dangerous, right? Because then you got nothing left.
Yeah.
But the Miami Heat, I mean, they got very lucky last night, I think, in having the Brooklyn Nets, who were 8.5-point favorites in their game over the Cleveland Cavaliers, for a brief period there at the end of the first quarter. You would never want to face the Brooklyn Nets the way they were playing. At that time, they ended up leading Cleveland 40-20. Now, they won the game by 7 points in the end, and Cleveland got as close. I think the closest they got after that was 6 points. But they cut into the margin right away to start the second quarter, and the Nets were able to just sort of keep them at bay. In fact, they were throwing that rangefinder jab to just keep them away, even when they had some ugly spells there. Which let's face it, the NBA, especially more so than college basketball, is a game of huge swings and giant runs, with the reliance on the 3-point shot now even more so than ever. But Kyrie Irving is a magician around the so-called cup.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know of anybody ever that was better at converting at the basket. I mean, you could talk about Michael. You could talk about any of the greats that have ever played the game that were dynamite at going to the hoop. But in terms of converting layups and making shots on the inside while driving to the basket, Kyrie Irving is amazing on that. I mean, absolutely amazing. And he was brilliant last night. Kansas first, I think he made his first 12 shots in the ball game. And it was a variety of stuff, including he threw a couple of bombs in there from 3-point range, made a dynamic assortment of layups from all different angles inside among the Redwoods. And it was just really, I mean, more than a catalyst. I mean, this guy sparked the team. Durant didn't have a ton of points, but early in the game, he was a big factor. He made like his first 6 or 7 shots. And Brooklyn was off to the races in this thing. And you were looking at that going, wow, if they play like that, and they were getting dunks off like, a second pass, can you imagine in the NBA now, instead of just the usual thing where the guy drives in and then whips it out to the corner with some wild around the neck pass and the guy's standing there all alone because the defense is sagged into the paint. These were interior passes that were extremely clever, most of which were executed by Irving also, where Durant would shoot the ball to Irving. He'd drive by 2 guys, throw a bounce pass to who is it? Drummond is in there as their center.
Yes,
and the guy would just, or Claxton, and he would just slam it down unabated to the basket. And you're thinking, wow, that team is really in sync, considering all the things that they've been through this year, including the departure of James Harden and the fact that they rarely played together.
And then at all.
And the vaccine thing, of course, with Kyrie, who. I mean, the guy's coming from another planet. I don't know. Was he in touch with Daryl Dawkins there at Lovetron, this guy? I think he's on a planet that is further out in the solar system than even Daryl Dawkins, who turned out was just a very, very cool guy. One of the best and surprising interviews I've ever had where, they said, okay, I can get you Daryl Dawkins. And he said, okay, what's he got? A book coming out? Yeah, sure. It's called like Chocolate Thunder or whatever. And he came on the show, and I was amazed, like overwhelmingly impressed with Daryl Dawkins as an interview subject. And I don't know if I ever got a chance to talk to him again, but wow, he was a very, very interesting guy. I'm not sure that Kyrie comes across that way, but a hell of a basketball player. There's no question, right? Neil deGrasse Tyson, when he came on the show, and we asked him about Kyrie and some of his theories about space and this and, solar travel or whatever, space travel. And he just said, hey, look, like John Rocker, guy's a hillbilly reliever. Well, why am I asking him who was right or wrong in the Ukrainian war? I don't give a crap what his opinion is. So you luck out, though, Lubie, I believe, because I would imagine that the Heat can handle the Cleveland Cavaliers if they prevail in their next game. And they, they gave it a good effort. I mean, they showed well in spots. That spurt they never recovered from, where there was like 22-20, then all of a sudden it was 40-20. And that was it. I mean, it was lights out from there. But Cleveland, I don't know. I mean, did they prevail at home against the winner of tonight's play-in game, which is kind of interesting that the NBA now has terminology that you would only anticipate finding on the NCAA, underneath like a letterhead from the NCAA. Yeah, we're going to have a couple of more teams in there. We're going to have them playing. And tonight's game is what?
There's two. You have the Pelican Spurs, I think, is the 9-10.
Oh, yeah. Pelican Spurs is the late game. Sure.
7-8.
And you have Charlotte going against Atlanta. That's the other game tonight. Charlotte and Atlanta. So I don't know. And Atlanta, they looked great last year. They looked like they were a team that was really coming into a position where Trae Young was, had figured out what he needs to do to be a winner. And, he'd integrated himself very well into the team, even though you talk about a chucker, that would be Trae Young. But plays hard every night. He's kind of like, what? Is he a modern-day version of Iverson? Not as good as Allen Iverson.
He's more efficient.
What do you think?
He actually he just shoots it far away, but he gets to the basket a lot. He does play in the range, and he assists a lot. Like he's really high with assists, and he's not a total sieve defender. Like Trae Young he's just slight. Like he's just slight, and he does a lot of weird shit.
Like, the hair is a weird thing. It's a very hard. Like, am I obsessed with people's hair? Because the piece no piece thing, but. Doesn't a hair make him look like less of a ball player?
Makes him look crazy.
If he shaved his head, would he not look like a better ball player?
Probably, but I don't know why.
I mean, he needs to go Messier. He really does on this. Just have a shaved head. Because that hair is not working. I mean, one side of it looks like, he just shook hands with Don King. And then the other side is not all there, right? I mean, so you're thinking, well, what is it, Trae? But when he was rolling last year, he was extremely entertaining. I mean, that's one thing that you want to be. Much like Iverson, you never knew what you were going to get. He might go 6 for 31 and still somehow go to the stripe 17 times and end up with 28 points. And you're like, is that 28 points? It might be 29.
Whatever. Yeah, you'd get high 20s.
Trying to do the math like real fast here while smiling at the camera. So, anyway, Atlanta, I don't think they really scare anybody. Charlotte, has LaMelo Ball and a couple of other players. And, unless Michael himself suits up there, I don't know that they're even going to get by the Atlanta Hawks tonight because it did seem to come out pretty chalky. Although you got a win no cover from the Brooklyn Nets, which would be especially distressing because you were up 20 points after one quarter, and it looked like Cleveland was going to throw in the towel. And they kept battling. This kid Garland's pretty good. So I would think Cleveland has an excellent chance to hold home serve and hold serve at home and, win the survivor of the Charlotte-Atlanta game. And so, you're probably, I don't know. I mean, if we just do the extrapolations here, obviously could go another way, but you're most likely looking at the Heat taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Skid Garland is excellent, but you got your way, Lubie. See, they won the opening, the first seed. That was an important thing to clinch because they dodged all of this other turmoil.
It's great. With the Cavs, and the one thing the net people didn't realize, the Cavs are missing Sexton the entire year. He is their best player. And Jared Allen became like an all-star, was their best big, and they had Kevin Love playing the 5 a lot last night. So they had no one to guard the interior. So that's why Kyrie Irving and Durant were able to go off. Like the Cavs, of all the teams left, are the worst. Like they really wouldn't have made the playoffs if the season went on another couple weeks. So if he can get the Cavs, it worked out literally the best way possible because you have the Celtics having to take on the Nets, the hottest team in the league, having to take on probably the most prolific offense in the league. And then you would have whoever wins that after blooding each other up would have to take on the Bucks. So now they're going to bloody each other up where the Heat get either the Cavs or Hornets. And all of them are young teams that aren't ready yet. The Hawks actually had a nice run last year, but I think a lot of that had to do with injuries and they were just healthy. And everyone else is healthier now, so it sort of knocked them back a peg. And then the next round, the Sixers and the Raptors, two solid teams, but neither scary. The Sixers could be scary, but Harden's played like ass the last 2 weeks, and Embiid has never been a playoff guy. So if you're the Heat, this actually worked out literally the best way possible, where in this year where the East looked really competitive, they may have not coast, but an way easier route than if you're the Celtics or the Bucks. Oh, my God.
Yeah. So a nice clear path, as they say, a clear path to the basket for the Miami Heat. They would have no excuses because it looks like they're going to get sort of a chump gimme opening round where, maybe they win it in 5 or whatever. And and this is all bizarre speculation on
Yeah.
our part because we don't know what's going to happen. Anything can change. It's kind of like looking at a mid-season NFL game and saying, "Oh yeah, well, I mean, Dolphins will be real tough for the Bills that day." How the hell do you know? I mean, you don't even know who's going to line up and play. But just if you were looking according to form, if you had your racing form out, and it was all NBA stuff. You're thinking that the Heat are in good shape to win, almost a guarantee, that first round series now that the Brooklyn Nets are out of the equation, which would have been the one scary factor. But I think they are better than the Brooklyn Nets. Now, they had a winning record during the regular season of 3-1, I think, against the Brooklyn Nets, the Miami Heat. So, well, I mean, I don't know what that means. That may not be true, but I believe I heard that during the course of one of the broadcasts last night. So Brooklyn now clinches that number 7 seed. There was speculation a while back that they might not even make the postseason, and they'll go on to face the Boston Celtics. They do have a problem, though. One of their guys, I believe,
Robert Williams. The Celtics
yeah,
don't have Robert Williams.
yeah. I mean, the Celtics are missing a key guy inside. So.
It's a big deal.
That could be very interesting the way that turns out. So, good fodder for the opening round of the NBA playoffs. A lot of times you got blowout city in all of the matchups, but not the case in the East. And then you have the other games taking place tonight. Now, the second game was kind of interesting because when I was watching it, the Clippers were dominating. And remember, we couldn't even name you like a Clipper player besides Paul George, but. They look good. I mean, they were playing some, real sound team basketball early in that contest, and they had Karl Anthony Towns bottled up. I mean, you talk about brutalizing a guy. This guy looked like the tag team wrestler that was in the corner in a 3-man tag team match. And 2 guys were working on him at the same time, and they had him in a chokehold, and they were beating the crap out of him, and they were taking foreign objects out of their trunks. And every time the ref looked over, it was all clean.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they were knocking the snot out of Karl Anthony Towns early in the game, and very fierce double teams. I mean, very aggressive double teams. They were calling nothing. Towns is, wandering around like a zombie, like he just got hit on the chin, and he was Tommy Hearns. And he had like no points early in the ball game. He might have had 1 free throw, but he was like 0 for 5 from the field. And these were awkward misses, and they were calling stuff on him that normally went his way. So it looked like the fix was in. That somehow, because of whatever happened with Donald Sterling, Adam Silver had ordered the referees to go ahead and hand the game to the Clippers. If they couldn't win it on their own, they were going to get extra help.
Sterling.
And I was surprised to see, actually, Minnesota prevailed there and actually covered the point spread. They were 3.5-point favorites, and they won the game by 5. So Clippers must have fallen completely apart late in that ball game. That was a weird arena, wasn't it? It was kind of nice. Minnesota, we went there that one time, and for some bizarre reason, I mean, how much did they owe the city of Minneapolis to put a Super Bowl there? They did it when they built like the Humphrey Dome. They gave them a Super Bowl, and then like 40 years later, they built them a new stadium, which we didn't get to see the stadium, but it looked like it was pretty cool, didn't it?
It was insane. Yeah, we saw from the outside, it was fucking ridiculous. So I mean, they get a good crowd. I give them credit; like they support their teams. It's just freaking cold.
Oh God, it's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, when your whole city is ensconced in ice through July.
Yeah, exactly.
What the hell are you going to do? I mean, you may as well have some nice sporting arenas, which they did. I mean, it was great. And that was the first time. I don't know, is this common practice now, or is this just unique to Minnesota or other cities than South Florida? I mean, what was the usual thing when you went up to a scalper, right? The guy had like, he'd open up like he was selling watches. And, you'd have like, okay, here's the tickets I got. And now we actually had to do everything online. I guess they don't even issue tickets there in Minnesota. What do they have? Some kind of environmental premise working there where they don't issue any kind of paper? Because if you didn't have it on a phone app, you couldn't get into the arena.
That was weird. I haven't been.
So we're buying tickets off a scalper, and how do you trust that, Lubie?
That weirded me out. I was really sketched out by that.
I didn't think we were getting in. I kind of trusted the guy. Because it's Minnesota, right? I mean, are you going to have a bunch of thieves and scheming, scamming liars like we have here in South Florida that are out there, representing the fine profession of ticket scalping? But no, the guy couldn't have been any better, right? He plugged it right into your phone. We didn't even know how to do it.
He was on it.
It was great.
He got us the tickets. The price was solid. because it was the Bucks when Greek Freak wasn't MVP yet, but he had become a legit superstar, and he hooked it up and he helped us, and I didn't trust any of it, and we got right in. I was like, oh, this is pretty cake.
Yeah.
That's pretty clutch.
It's pretty wild. Yeah. I mean, they were working together, too. I mean, scalpers working together.
Yeah, it was
Maybe
weird.
there's one guy controls the whole thing, as and he's the same guy that has all the parking lots around there. But yeah, very nice crowd, right? Real Midwest kind of stuff. Very homey. You felt safe in there. Everybody, yay! They were all cheering.
It's nice and polite.
That stupid wolf sound playing. And then they needed like Matthew Dellavedova to brick 2 free throws or so. No, he was with the Bucks. No, he was with the Bucks. Yeah,
With the
and they were
Bucks.
playing the Bucks. That was the big rivalry. In fact, that shocked me. Did it not surprise you? When we thought we were going to just roll in there and it'd be like tickets at the box office,
Yeah, we thought it'd be empty.
empty, right? But people were talking about it like they were talking about the game 2 days before. Whoa, the Bucks are in town.
Yeah, it was like a thing.
This is a big rivalry. Milwaukee versus Minneapolis.
I guess it's 2 Midwestern cold cities, I guess.
Well, Milwaukee's not as dreadful as Minneapolis is it? I mean, in terms of weather.
I don't know.
They have breweries there. What are you talking about? At least
It's
it's easy to get your hands on a beer. That's for sure. You had the walleye pizza, as I recall, because walleye was served with everything. Anyway, I thought the Timberwolves. I mean, the times I've been, seeing or even eyeballing any activity with the Timberwolves, they were playing pretty well. So they come back and they win that game against the Clippers, and you have another game on tap tonight. I like when there's so much at stake in a ball game. Kind of makes it a little bit more fun, right? Kind of a one and done situation.
That's interesting.
Where at least the loser of these games last night has a shot, to come back and redeem themselves, and they also will hold home court advantage over the winners of tonight's game, who the 2 losers from last night would have to go up against on Friday and Saturday, something like that. Friday.
Friday. The playoffs start Saturday.
Playoffs start Saturday, and the Heat will begin on Sunday, and we are now penciling in to the bracket the Cleveland Cavaliers.
I think the Hawks will win, actually. I think the Hawks have enough to get out of that game because the Cavs are just injured. I think the Cavs are on the come up. Like, when they get Jared Allen back, have Sexton healthy with Mobley and Garland, they have an interesting young team, but I just don't think they have enough this year. We'll see. The Hawks, I don't know what the hell happened to them. I mean, I think it's, again, last year was really weird. Like, last year we saw the teams that were healthy move forward. The Bucks sort of had a cakewalk because everyone was injured. The Heat and the Nets were hurt, so the Bucks just sort of walked right through to the, I think, NBA final, not even the conference finals, because they played the Hawks, and the Hawks weren't ready yet. So that's what I think this year was for the Hawks, is they have a lot of scoring, but they're all young. Like, all the teams left in the East are young, and I think the Hawks have a little bit of experience, so maybe they'll get by. But the Heat proved you right and shut me up. I mean, I was really nervous about them winning and having to face the Nets, and the Nets ended up winning, so it just worked out perfect.
No, I mean, you got everything you could possibly wish for as a sports fan and a big fan of the Miami Heat. So that's interesting, right? Well, you just spent like a half hour talking about 2 play-in games. In the NBA, and the playoffs are just beginning, and they don't end until like mid-July. And then in the NHL, I didn't realize this. There were still like 9 games left in the regular season.
Well, remember they took remember they took a break for the Olympics, but didn't go.
Oh, that's right. That was what set them back. Yeah, because they didn't go to the Olympics. Right.
There were some games were going on, but then like the Panthers didn't play for like 17 days or some stupid number. So like it stalled the season, and now they're behind the NBA by like 2 weeks.
Wow. I mean, it's unfortunate because it's hard to get people watching the NHL playoffs. The most exciting set of playoffs in all of sports. I don't say this to pander to the people that, oh yeah, well, you don't know anything about hockey. I've been watching a game, since I was a kid. I mean, we had 6 teams in the league. You knew every player in the league, and what was great about it was like your fourth line was loaded with Hall of Famers. Right. There just weren't that many players in the NHL back then, but seen enough, to realize that the postseason is a different story, but people don't realize. I mean, when you watch, if you start, watching a team and they go through, say your local team is in it, like the Panthers, and they go all the way, it's a bloodbath. I mean, it really is. Nobody goes on a cakewalk through the Stanley Cup Finals.
Great. What do you mean?
You could have had all those great teams, Montreal back in the day, and Toronto was very good at one time, and you had all of those great Detroit Red Wing teams when they had the all of the Russians. Putin, I think, even.
Well, they're always
had a piece of one of those teams.
In the 90s when you had Cicerelli and you had
Fedorov and all of those guys. Yeah, I mean, a lot of those original six teams, not every one of them, but had pretty good runs. And then you had some of the teams that came in the original run of expansion that also had good runs, like the Philadelphia Flyers. But never, in my memory, was it just like a piece of cake.
What do you mean?
To
that
go and win the Stanley Cup.
The reason it was improbable was because every team they played was had Hall of Fame. Like the Bruins had like Cam Neely. Then they had to face. I think they faced the Flyers next, and that was Eric Lindros, and that team was loaded. Like that team had underachieved and was supposed to be like it was finally their year. And the Panthers somehow got past that, and then they had to play the Penguins, and Lemieux was still Lemieux. You had Yager was still Yager. And Barrasso was legit. Like that run they went on was a freaking war.
That was unbelievable. Yeah.
And then they faced the Avalanche, who had like 12 Hall of Famers.
And they lost in 4 games, but it wasn't like sometimes you look. You lose a set of tennis 6-love to some schmink that you've been beating like a drum, and you're thinking, okay, so I mean, it could look very ugly, but it might have been that you just happen to lose all the key points. Which, by the way, speaking of which, wow, you will never see this again in sports. I don't believe, Mike Lubitz. And this is an aside because I'm a big fan of. I'll tune on a tennis channel, and I have to say, Tennis Channel really delivers a lot of live entertainment that you would have only maybe been able to see and read about in the agatype in the paper. Underneath like the Yonkers results would be like some Grand Prix tennis event, and you would see maybe if you could see that fine print, it's almost like reading a radio contract where you're going, do you have an electron microscope so I can see what these clauses are? That you want me to just, just sign it, Deef. We'll go get some lunch.
Always.
Yeah, we got reservations at Monterano. Yeah, we're going there. Let's go, I don't think they're open for lunch. But nonetheless, you wouldn't be able to follow this kind of stuff. So they have the tournament going on in Monte Carlo, Lubie, and one of the big stories there is that Novak Djokovic was going to play, I believe this is his first action. Here we are in the middle of April. Is this his first action of 2022, Novak Djokovic?
I don't think of the year, but it's his first action in a couple months, I think.
They wouldn't let him into Australia, and I don't think he's played since. So that was in January, Lubie. So a long, long time ago. And I don't think he had played a match yet. I believe this was his first match of 2022. If he played somewhere in January, I don't know, is he in Dubai or something, some country that didn't give a flying one about disease? I don't want to put down the entire Saudi Arabian Empire. We would like to cash in on that someday, like Phil Mickelson. No,
that'd be fine. There are countries that were a lot more loose and lax, and I think that's where he was, and that's where he's been.
Could be. I don't know. But I believe that was his first match of the year. I want to say that. And he's taken on a guy that I've seen before, but he's got one of those hyphenated. It's not even hyphenated. Guy's name is Alejandro Davidovich Fokina. Alejandro Davidovich Fokina, who I also want to say had never beaten a top 10 player before. So he's playing a joker, and he beats him the first set and was up a couple of breaks. And then loses a tiebreaker in the second set on a miraculous play by Djokovic, who was just absolutely gassed after that and proceeded to get blown out in the third set 6-1. But what you will never see again, I would venture to say this is the safest of bets that you could ever make, Lubie. Take this one all the way to your grave. You will never see Novak Djokovic have his serve broken 9 times in even a 3-set match like this.
Jesus.
Never.
That's a lot.
Even if you will never see him get broken 9 times in a 5-set match. I
was going to say, that's a lot.
Now, it's the red clay, so, different things happen there. I mean, the ball, it's a very slow surface, and it's sort of a different game. But Djokovic has won a French Open, has he not? Did he win 1, 2? I don't know. Among his slam events. So he's very capable on this surface. But first match back, maybe he had a little bit of ring rust, but this kid played his eyeballs out to beat him. Like, you don't knock off the champions, even on their worst days, without being in a dogfight. Much like we were saying about, you're in a real firefight, much like the NHL playoffs, from the first game of the opening round. That's why Mayo, that stinking weasel Mayo, is in there with a chance. At least he admits to the fact that he was exposed yesterday on the show. And we love Mike Mayo. He's great, man. But he was exposed yesterday on a show by Harvey. He was always that way, and he admitted it yesterday to me, Lubie, that he was always this way, this irascible,
Yeah, he said it.
cantankerous, negative, pessimistic, like, yeah, sure. Yeah, they're real good, Defo.
We wanted to give him credit for just becoming that recently, and Harvey
Yes.
he was always like that.
He was always
He
that
was always critical and cynical and sort of a little, perturbed and bitter. It's like, oh, okay.
It's kind of crazy. I mean, think about it. You spend your whole life getting into ball games for free, and you're getting paid pretty good money. I mean, good enough to make a decent living by any standard, no matter what level you're at. I mean, maybe not at all levels, but nonetheless, I mean, I've lived a pretty good life doing this stuff. And what more could you ask for, Lubie? I mean, how could you possibly be bitter about this? It's impossible.
Well, and
other people are going to real jobs.
Well, and like Harvey said, it was during the era where, especially he was a columnist, so he would get to travel the world,
pick his spots,
great sporting events, and like you always joke about, he had a good. They gave him a nice petty cash, so he could do what the hell he wanted. What are you pissed about?
I mean, you know how many fudged expense accounts I turned in my lifetime from these various trips? It was fantastic, right? I was making more money off, phony expense receipts. Oh, yeah, I'll take a couple of receipts for that. They didn't really scrutinize it that heavily until that one time, like I said, that
you guys were cheating it.
Well, no, Sonny Hirsch, I mean, was notorious for this, and he had put in that he had taken the entire Canes baseball coaching staff out for dinner at an Omaha steakhouse when the Canes were in the College Baseball World Series, when in reality, I had picked up that check. All right, so now they actually went through, a couple of the receipts there at WIOD, and they call us in. They said, "So which one of you guys was it?" Now what do I do? I mean, Sonny Hirsch is the god of UM. Can I really rat him out as being the guy? But I don't want to look like an asshole because they naturally implied that. Listen, so you lost $400 at Exarban that day. You can't get it back off of us by fudging a dinner receipt.
Well, I'm just saying, if anyone could get away with it, though, it'd be the guy that's the legend.
Yes.
That's Sonny. You being the newcomer, you being the guy that's not firmly entrenched, you're trying to pull a move. You're the one that looks worse to me than the guy who's the legend that everyone knows his antics.
So who should take the burial in that situation?
He should. Now, he probably wouldn't because he just assumes the young buck's going to, but you might lose your job. He is not losing his job over that.
No. He could
Sonny.
Blame it on Alzheimer's, whatever. Oh, jeez, you know what? I took the receipt because I'm so used to paying. I didn't realize that Defo had beaten me to the punch there.
You were newer the way you've described your time there when you were with Sonny. So it'd be like, you'd be the one that'd be like, what the fuck, this guy trying to pull a move? Who the hell does he think he is? Yeah, I would go with the older guy in that. He should have taken the bullet just to be a good dude. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know how that works.
I experienced this on from another angle one time when and the names shall be changed to protect the guilty in this case.
Guilty, actually.
And I had nothing to do with it. I literally had nothing to do with it. But I was doing some business with a racetrack, and I'm talking to the general manager about something, some part of a deal we were putting together. And he said, "Well, you should give me a better price after so-and-so took you out to dinner all those times at, whatever, the Forge." And I'm like, what dinner? And apparently this guy had been putting me down as one of his guests on a bunch of fudged expense reports.
Oh, no.
So it looked like he was taking me out to dinner like once a week.
Oh, no.
For me, to possibly, I don't know if he was, that would be considered like trying to, look, PR guy takes you out for dinner. What are you going to, rip the place to shreds in your next commentary or whatever? No, probably not. You're likely to overlook a few things. I didn't see any roaches in this restaurant. What are you talking about? Yeah, thanks for the steak. But yeah, I mean, so people must be doing this, it must have been a very common practice, right? Fudging expense reports.
Oh, yeah. It seems like it was normal. If Sonny was doing it like that, then it seems like they just sort of let you slide.
May he rest in peace, by the way. May he rest in peace, because
both you and Tony speak of him highly, but I mean, if he was doing this regularly, it must have just been like, look, this is a part of the business. It's like a bonus or a perk.
Yeah.
Just don't be a total jerk off.
Oh no, he was very thorough. I mean, that was the first thing he did when he got back to town was fill out the expense report. That was the first thing I did too. It was great.
Why not? Yeah.
So Mayo, how could he be bitter, Mayo? He was traveling. He told me he was in Monte Carlo. I was mentioning this tournament and the Djokovic upset yesterday by this Davidovich Schmenk, whoever he was, Fokina. A very nice young player. I mean, imagine you're out there, your second round match. Djokovic had a bye in the first round of this tournament, and your second round match after you got it out a victory over whoever you played in the first round, this Davidovich Schmenk. And it's like, who's on the board today? Djokovic.
God.
He's already checked out of his hotel, don't you think?
Oh,
no way he's going to beat this guy.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess you have to think that you can do it. But he caught him at a good time, and you will never see that again. I would venture to say that is the safest bet that you can make, that Novak Djokovic will get broken 9 times in a 3-set tennis match.
I mean, that's
never
a lot.
happened, man.
9 times is a lot. Like, that's a lot. Especially for the, Djokovic is not Sampras or Philippoussis or Ivanisevic. Like, he's not known as Mr. Big Serve, but when you're great like that, your serve is always at least solid. Like, you don't get broken. Like you
no, he's a great server, Djokovic. He has a tremendous
serve. Like
it's a huge weapon for him. I mean, he's also a brilliant returner of serve, and I mean, he doesn't look like he would be as athletic as he is because of his build. I mean, he's kind of tall and sort of. He's not really slight. No, he's kind of broad-shouldered for a tennis player, and. Wow, I mean, just unbelievable. He played his eyeballs out and still lost, which was amazing. So he'll be back, as they say. But I think the French, even though there's a whole new surge of COVID or whatever, they don't give a flying one now about, vaccinations and stuff like that. So he'll probably be in the French Open. Obviously, he's there, right? Monte Carlo, isn't that considered south of France there or something?
I think it's the French Riviera, yeah. I think it's France.
Yeah. These poor people, man, as I was mentioning yesterday, right? Wasn't that the place that everybody went to dodge, like, U.S. taxes or whatever, onerous taxes they were being saddled with by whatever country they were from?
Oh, at some point, yeah, for sure.
So all of a sudden, like Bjorn Borg and Becker and all these guys, they all lived in Monte Carlo. But they all ended up broke, like they're hawking trophies. What is that?
Yeah, I don't get that. Bjorg.
Who
I don't know. Understand Borg. I mean, I get it. He tapped out early, but I thought it was because he was living his best life.
You think he sold that Wimbledon trophy because he was busted?
I don't. I hope not. I hope not. You're making it seem like he is or was. I hope.
I mean, what would make you sell like a Wimbledon? That beautiful gold trophy they have at Wimbledon. This isn't like the World Cup soccer trophy, which looks like something you would use as a doorstop. And then the wife would say, "Would you move that ugly thing from the door?" And she puts like a garbage can there instead. I mean, that's one of the ugliest trophies I've ever seen. Sorry for you soccer fans out there, but it's a piece of crap. But the Wimbledon, the Wimbledon trophy, that gold thing, are you kidding me? You have that and you're hawking it at a pawn shop outside of, Royal Ascot or wherever he was, whatever racetrack he happened to be at. See, I dig that, man. There should be like the total degenerate tennis player.
Oh,
some guy that just happens to be, great at a sport, which you find these guys, but they're also sick, degenerate gamblers.
Kyrgios isn't. It felt like Kyrgios either is or will be.
Yeah. Kyrgios doesn't care, right? I mean, he just doesn't give a
That's what I'm saying. If anyone's going to be gambling, it's going to be him. He's a freaking lunatic.
I mean, let's not arouse suspicions. But Novak Djokovic coming back after not playing and making zero cash all year long, all of a sudden gets broken 9 times, Mr. FanDuel.
You thought he was.
And that like a huge pile of Serbian capital went into some Russian oligarch's bank account as
throwing it. Why would Djokovic throw it? He's
could be, man. Money. Tennis has some very strange gambling fixing stories and allegations, and some of them have proven out to be true. So
it's not the big names though. Like Djokovic has made hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean,
it's hard to get Nadal to throw a match.
How are you getting them to throw it?
Listen, Rafa, all you got to do is miss that second serve. Opening point of the second set, we all cash. One serve we're asking you to tank. That's it. One double fault. That's all you got to do is throw one in there, Rafa. What do you think? I don't think that's happening. Imagine Roger Federer sitting down with some greasy-looking guy that is looking like he slept in his car for the last 2 weeks. Bathes in newspaper ink because all he does is read the racing form, and he's sitting down with Roger, going, "Listen, Raj, all you got to do is lose the first game.
Talking
I don't care what you do after that. Just lose the first game and lose it at love, because I'm going for the double, quadruple prop parlay bet, which I'm guaranteed to get back my money because." That's the initial offer that they're giving you at one of these betting sites. I don't know. Tennis has had some screwball betting
It has.
scandals already. Who's the guy? Lubitz?
I know the last 2 years.
He's coaching one of the top players, Lubitz. Is he Federer's coach? I think he is. I think his name is like Ivan Lubitz. You know this guy?
No.
Got the bald head. Yeah. He was a very tough customer when it came to being a competitor. And I think he's been coaching Federer for a while because I want to put it together that he's always in Federer's box.
Ivan Lubitz is Roger Federer's coach. Ivan Lubitz.
And he was the subject of a couple of different investigations about throwing matches. So, and a mysterious amount of money went in on Lubitz to lose, and whoever he was playing. And he ultimately lost in a match where he looked like real bad. I mean, this was worse than the Black Sox. Say it ain't so, Ivan.
God.
But like it's first round of some schminky tournament somewhere, and the average guy is not paying that much. It's not like you're trying to fix a college basketball game or something. So very interesting stuff there. Ivan Lubitz. Speaking of integrity and possible lack thereof. Although you don't want to accuse him, I guess he was never found guilty of any of this. So
he's coaching Federer. He must not be that without credibility.
Oh, he's a serious dude, man, Lubitz. Like he was one of those guys that I would imagine not too many people actually were rooting for, but you had to respect him. It was kind of like Alex Caruso. Was with the Lakers, where, every now and then you were going to say, wow, who's this guy, man? He's always involved in something very positive. All right, we're coming back with more. Speaking of positive, Hialeah Park, wow, a very, very positive vibe that I'm getting about this Saturday. I think I'm going to do it. I'm hoping Frankie's watching today because, I don't know, do we need to make special arrangements? We might need special considerations.
Well, you weren't there the one time we went. It was actually a blast. We did the derby down there, and Visser Mama, the Duke came. Some of our old sponsors came. Shirley and I were there. I think you were on a junket somewhere. And we all met there. We're in the restaurant. They got us a table, and we watched the entire. It was the one that was questionable. The one that you thought you lost, and then when they switched it up, you guys ended up.
Yeah. No, that was fantastic.
2 years ago. I think it was before.
Country House got put up.
It was the one that was a joke.
Yeah.
But it worked out for you in Jersey, so okay.
Well, I was going to win money anyway, but it became substantially more when they put Country House up after the disqualification, and that was weird. I mean, what were the odds that I would benefit from the first disqualification of a horse where they actually reversed the pari-mutuel result? Now, they have disqualified horses after the fact in a Kentucky Derby. I think that might have happened either once or twice before. But, that was amazing. I never benefit from those kind of things. Never.
No, but you did. So you weren't there. They set us up at a table, and that was a blast. That's why when our listener viewer the other day chimed in and said this was happening that day, I'm like, wow, we did it that one time. I could probably, and you're there till like 6 or 7. I mean, by the time it's over, that seems to flow right into a boxing match. I'm like, I could probably be there.
It does. There's no better doubleheader. In fact, that's how I befriended the great Bert Sugar, who became one of my favorite people that I've ever met in my life, even though we didn't spend a ton of time together. But Oscar De La Hoya always had fights on the Cinco de Mayo, right?
Yep.
Or around there, whatever weekend was Cinco de Mayo. So he was always having matches in Las Vegas around May 5th. And sure enough, and if it wasn't De La Hoya, there would be somebody else. So there was always a boxing card at the MGM Grand or one of the big hotels there. And, Bert would be there like I was on these boxing radio rows. And, of course, it happened on the same day as the Kentucky Derby. So, yeah, and we would even have like parlay bets involving the Derby winner. I think I remember Smarty Jones, who was running in the Derby that one year. And And Bert had some kind of prop bet about the number of links that Smarty Jones would win the Derby by, as opposed to the number of rebounds that some guard would have in an NBA game. Right? Because you're thinking if he wins by 5, you need a fairly limited number of rebounds. And I couldn't believe Bert was engaging and indulging in such bizarre proposition bets in crossover sports. But it was a dynamite doubleheader, right? You'd be sitting there in the sports book watching the Derby. Everybody's you saw what that was like. It's just absolutely fantastic.
It's a blast.
A blast, yeah. I mean, the energy. It's not like being at the Derby, obviously, because nothing is. But it's kind of like the theory behind going out there for the NCAA opening week, because which I didn't get to do, but still, it was on a much lesser basis, but spirited there in Atlantic City. But for the Derby, wow, I mean, you get the same kind of pulsating feeling as the horses are coming down the stretch as you would if you were there. Somewhat, I mean, it's similar. So great place to be. But no, that's a dynamite doubleheader. So we can do this at Hialeah May 7th. Are you in on this?
I want to. Shirley had a really good time, and we could probably convince. Like, we haven't seen Visserman in forever.
It's a long day, though. I mean, because you're going straight from the Derby. I guess you would have to get there sort of for the late races.
I would go later. Yeah, I would. Yeah. I would personally go there before the Derby because you want to get in the mode. But I don't want to. You don't need to be there all day. I don't. You can do you. I don't need to be there all day. But I'd like to get there for the Derby fun, and then the fights probably start around 8. I mean, he named like 40 fights. So.
I would imagine even earlier than that, right? To get all those fighters in, are you kidding me, Henry Revolta?
Like every fighter.
This show's going to have to start at like 2 in the afternoon. In fact, you might have to go upstairs from the fights and go into the champions to catch the Derby, then go back down and start catching some of the big prelims before the main event. But wow, that's a great day, huh? That's a great day. And Mustang can travel around the casino there. I mean, she loves that place, and the food and drink is fantastic. Derby fights May 7th. Get your tickets for the fights, by the way. That's going to be a spectacular card. Yep. I got excited. Henry got me excited, when he was talking about some of these prospects that they have, which, the guys that are in the later fights are already, like, established with several pro fights under their belt, all looking spectacular and sensational. And, by the way, I like Errol Spence Jr. a lot, but this your Dennis Ugas story is a good one, man. I mean, you almost can't help but root for this guy. Your Dennis Ugas, who's big in Little Havana down here in South Florida. He was doing an autograph signing. The people were lined up out the door. Seems like a real genuine guy with a tremendous story. Tried to defect like 6 times and got shipped back. And then he finally did it, and he's been an underdog. He was fighting for Top Rank. How about this? Wow. Top Rank Boxing, and he loses a split decision to some guy, and it was like his first television appearance. So he ends up, that was his first loss. He loses like a split decision. He's 15-0 or something like that, and Top Rank drops him. They just, it might have been his 3rd loss. They dropped him. They just said, hey, that's it. You're never going to amount to Hella Beans, so.
That's annoying.
See you later, your Dennis. Have a nice time. And he was out of boxing then for a couple of years. And Chapman, the pitcher for the Yankees.
Aroldis Chapman, yep.
Aroldis Chapman gave him like $20,000 and said, you got to start boxing again. So I'm going to set you up in Las Vegas. Here's $20,000. Start training. And he came back, and now he won a world title, and he's going against Errol Spence at Cowboy Stadium.
What
How about that?
Jeez, that's crazy.
Yeah, well, he beat Manny Pacquiao to put himself in this spot. He took Pacquiao out of boxing, and he hammered Pacquiao, who was not bad still, even at like 40-something. Talk about Tom Brady, right? I mean, Manny Pacquiao, who started out like as a 102-pounder, and, was fighting heavyweights at 5'5". Yeah, we give Pacquiao the edge on speed over Anthony Joshua, but I tell you what, the Englishman, he's in front of his home crowd here. This ain't the Philippines, Manny. Anyway, we're going to do that doubleheader at Hialeah Park. I recommend this place, as you know, with all of my heart to virtually everybody, because I love it there. And that would be great, because I haven't been there for a little while.
Yeah, been some time.
It feels empty not going down to Hialeah Park. So a doubleheader, Derby, boxing, I'm in, Lubie. I don't even have to convince the Mustang. I don't have to ask her. I mentioned Hialeah Park. She's like, yeah, let's go. Loves everything about the place. Really does. But a bit of a slot addiction, I would say. I don't know.
That's the scary part for you.
Well, it might be scary for Steve Calabro because
Yeah,
she's
she's
been
on a
winning
streak.
all of these jackpots. Although,
Yeah.
let's face it, like
Yeah.
any streak,
Don't do
usually
it.
good luck gambling streaks are very short-lived. Cash in while you can because, they ain't going to last forever. That's for sure. All right, we're coming back with more. I'll tell you one streak that's good. Our streak of shows with Tony Segreto. He's going to join us, but we don't have the video of Tony today.
We have
Okay. Oh, we got it. Oh, my God.
we
Look
have
at this
video while
guy's
driving.
technical
So
genius.
we're gonna try this out and cross our
Keep your
fingers.
eyes on the road, Tony, and
Exactly.
your hands on the wheel. You're
Well,
driving or...
he was literally driving and video. I'm like, okay, this isn't safe.
We'll have to explore this in a moment. We're coming back. Tony Segreto, Old School, brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants and Catholic Health Services. That's right around the corner. Very excited about this. I was going to miss Tony up on the screen there. And that's happening in a moment. Now that. We covered a lot of ground there in that hour, Lubie. It's 8:01. Poker is your game. You're covered in style. And you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Catholic Health Services is committed to care that changes as your needs do. Our full continuum of services is designed to be there throughout your care journey. If you need assistance with daily living, post-acute care following a serious health event, or additional medical care at home, we also offer skilled nursing and palliative and hospice care. Your care needs may change, but our commitment never does. Catholic Health Services, South Florida's #1 choice for post-acute and end-of-life care. Visit CatholicHealthServices.org.
What we gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto. Brought to you by Catholic Health Services and Texas Roadhouse.
All right, welcome back to the show, and it's Fine Wednesday. Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubie, Lubitz, and Charles Carroll joining us on the road with Charles Carroll. Now, it's Tony Segreto, who, of course, could have filled that role very easily. He was so versatile as a sportscaster, newscaster on TV for so many years. And you're actually moving, Tony. What's going on here?
Well, actually, I'm actually in Florence, South Carolina, in line getting coffee at Dunkin' Donuts. So we're going to have to order it together.
Very nice. Okay.
I'm not sure she got my order. We'll find out when I pull up to the window. I'll ask her to join the radio to the show for the.
No grub coming with this, because I'd be tempted to get the ham, egg, and cheese croissant.
No. I'm just gonna get coffee now. I'm not gonna eat while we're on the show. When I get done eating, then we'll figure out where I'm going.
I guess that's true.
Hold on, I'm pulling up. I'm gonna find out if she actually got my order.
All right, it's very exciting. It's the first
Hold on.
for
This
the
is
Defo show.
live. I had a medium black coffee, please. Okay.
Of anyone to do this,
You want to be on our show? We're on the show.
Did you order it from the drive-thru?
Yeah, you
Were
didn't
you
order.
talking to the little clown?
Can you see my man? What's your name?
We can see.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, can you see Richard? He's saying
We
hi.
see
You wearing a football cap? Did you give the guy the hat?
Yeah. I got an NBC cap and I got my sweatshirt on.
Very nice. All right. Now you ordered this coffee black. Wait a minute. You're getting a refill from a previous Dunkin' Donuts stop?
No. He's throwing a cup of coffee out. Would you stop?
All right. I thought you were such a
Good to
cheapskate,
see.
Tony.
Hey,
I
listen.
listen, Tony.
What was Michael Mayo bitching about?
No, he's
Everything.
in
I mean,
life.
what
He's
doesn't he
just-
bitch about? He's complaining that he didn't like his job. It's incredible, right? He's traveling to Monte Carlo to cover a Grand Prix event. He knows nothing about auto
Thanks,
racing.
Richard.
And
You know what?
He's complaining about the job. Mike Mayo. Crazy.
I love Michael Mayo. I absolutely love this man.
He's a good
But
dude.
he tends to be cranky. He
Yes.
tends to be a little persnickety, you know?
Well, but
And
we
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
When
We
you
just
work
think
in
he
an
was
industry
always-
like we work,
we just
Oh
didn't
my
think he was
God.
always that way. Like we thought, okay, the life he must have lived, like you were always happy. You had gotten to your dreams. You always personified a guy who was happy. He had that same kind of a job, right? He went from doing sports, traveling the world, to being like a food critic. So who could be bitter? And then Harvey tells us yesterday, oh no, he was bitter. He was always bitter.
Always bitter, man. Lived his
Oh
life
yeah,
as a bitter man.
he's always, and they always have that. They always had that little bitterness. And it's funny because if you go to him, Segredo's happy or whatever, he goes, oh yeah, well he made all the, on and on and on. It had nothing to do with it. It's just either you love what you do or you don't love what you do, regardless of what you make, right? So.
Oh, I'm with you. Yeah. I was just saying,
so
and this is. Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
I'm driving.
Yeah. All right, good. I mean, be careful out there.
I'm back on the
I like the scenery going by in the background. It's almost like we're watching an episode of Mannix or something. I mean, where they got the phony, film going in the background while the guy's actually sitting in his stationary car in the studio.
We'll do a little tuck and roll. How about that? A Mannix tuck and roll.
Yeah, all right. Well, be careful there. But, I was actually alluding to something that is one of your theories, Tony, and I know you think that I'm just a cynical bastard because it was the nature of the beast, where if you're in television like you were primarily, I mean, you're rooting for the local teams to do well because it seems to be the thing that really helps the situation, right? Where you can rally around everybody. It's all very positive. And, as I mentioned, the cynical bastards that called in the radio shows, they were fueled mostly by negativity.
Yep.
So you were almost rooting for your teams to lose so that you would be able to, bitch about them the entire off season and then talk about how, they're far away from being anything good. And all the people in the organization are idiots. And that seemed to sell on the radio. So it's kind of a different thing. But I'm with you. I mean, the job either way is fantastic. And then the people you get to meet are part of, to be able to, as I said, I mean, I'm taking in a derby boxing doubleheader with Bert Sugar, one of the great characters of all time, ever to be involved in any form of media. Yeah,
absolute icon. And let me take this a step further. I'm going to give you a real example. I was doing the Jimmy Johnson show when he was the head coach of the University of Miami, and they had like a rough week or something, and after the show, the week after the show, I just got drilled because I didn't ask the tough question.
Yeah.
And I talked to the reporter. I said, let me ask you a question. Whose name is on that show? Is it the Tony Segredo show with Jimmy Johnson? She said, no. I said, is it the NBC Hurricane show? No. I said, what's the name on the show? He goes, the Jimmy Johnson show. Okay, I rest my case. It's his show. It's his deal. Now, when there is something that needs to be addressed before the show, Jimmy and I would go over it, how he wanted to handle it. This was his show. This was his deal. And that's how you do it. It's not like we're after a game and we're going, well, how come on 3rd and 3 you did this, or on 4th and 4 you didn't go for it, or whatever the case might be. And there's no question. First of all, you have a relationship with the local team, with all the players and the coaches. Human nature, I don't believe that there's one written journalist who will tell you that they don't root or they don't have some sort of feeling for the team they cover that they want to win. If for no other reason, then it makes their job easier.
Yeah.
End of story. That's a bunch of hooey.
Well, Defo used to root against him all the time. That was literally how he brought me into this business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was much better for me if every team lost. Although I do agree with you that if you're covering a team, it's almost impossible to root against them.
And, around
and let me tell you, Sonny was. You talked about Sonny. Sonny was the best.
Might be getting the freeze out there of Tony Segredo. He's got that same expression he had 5 minutes ago. And we kind of lost the audio there. So, all right, we'll come back and try and pick up Tony. I don't know. He's in parts unknown.
I'm going to call him.
Yeah.
Let's do an actual phone call.
Yeah, maybe we'll switch directions here because that was great, though. I really enjoyed that. And I was thinking, if we could pull this off for the entire hour of Old School with Tony Segreto, where he's driving and we're seeing the scenery in the background, and how about first ever fast food transaction that we've had on the show live? I mean, that would be more appropriate for Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, would it not? Or when the Gambling Gourmet is on the program, that we're actually at a restaurant. And hopefully we have Tony recaptured here, at least audio.
Connection.
What do you think, Mike Lubitz? Connection no good? All right.
Segredo's very persistent, but I just don't think the cell phone service, and I mean, we can keep trying it, Tony.
He's probably, well, where would he be? What form of the boondocks would Tony be in?
South Carolina. I mean, no one's ever thought of that as a metropolis.
Yeah.
Like anywhere.
Where are you, Tony? I mean, are you traveling through space? Are you with Jeff Bezos? What's going on with you?
I'm sorry about that. I'm in South Carolina. I'm,
Yeah, we're kind of losing you there, Tony. I don't know how effective this is as a broadcast. All right, we'll try and reconnect with Tony Segreto, and we'll get that going. Tony going old school, and of course, it's brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants and Catholic Health Services. And in a few minutes here, we will connect with Ed Garcia from Texas Roadhouse Restaurants because, Lubie, we are hungry, man. We are hungry not only for some wins for our local teams, but also for some of those great steaks. So we'll have Ed Garcia. And oddly, I think we're going to have a better chance of capturing Ed on video than we have right now of getting this thing going back again with Tony Segreto. So we'll try and reconnect with Tony Segreto here. Now, what happened? Will you switch to the telephone?
We're going to do phone, yeah. I'm just trying to catch him in now. He sounded a lot better on the phone. Trying to hold an internet connection while driving through South Carolina on a phone with video is a lot to ask, but at least now we have him via telephone.
All right, and he's on the road early, this Tony Segreto. I hope, I mean, do you have to time it so you don't hit some big city at rush hour? Wouldn't that be the appropriate way to go? I haven't gone on like a long drive, and I have no desire to do it in quite some time, Mike Lubitz. When was the last time you went on a long drive?
Where's the Tampa?
Oh, Pacific Coast Highway there. And that's different, though, because you're on vacation.
Yeah, no,
and, that's like a legendary drive, and absolutely is worth it. And even if you've done it several times, it's never too soon to do it again. It's one of the great drives. Although you do feel like you're in, one of those adventure shows where they're riding on the cliffs there and your car is just about to go off because all of a sudden, like a hairpin turn comes up in the middle of, some downhill move where you're descending, 2 miles in the span of a quarter of a mile. And, so you could find yourself somehow swimming with the seals out there and the sea lions in the Pacific Ocean. All right. What do you think, Lubie? Give it a shot.
He's there.
Tony Segreto?
Yeah,
Tony, how are you, my friend? Are you with us?
I'm great. Yeah. Listen, I'm sorry. I thought we'd try it. Think we just hit a bad snag here. There are parts of South Carolina that really have bad connections. So I just heard you though. What I do is the way I drive to Vermont is I avoid Washington D.C. because it's no matter what time, and people who drive, no matter what time you get through that area, you're backed up for 2 hours. So I kind of swing around it, add about 100 miles onto my trip, but at the same time I save about an hour and a half.
Oh, nice.
Wow. Yeah. I remember that was a nightmare. So you are conscious of the timing, like there's no way you want to be around Washington, D.C. What was Baltimore also like that? Right. I mean, do you pass through there as well? Because I remember a couple and Washington, D.C., they have those stupid traffic circles, which hold everybody up for even longer.
Ugh.
When you go around the Pentagon, and I know Washington pretty much as well as I know Vermont and we're in South Florida because I was there so darn much. But I want to get back to what I was saying is when we were talking about your covering your local team, Sonny, when you talked about Sonny Hirsch, he not only loved the Hurricanes like I do, but he had bets on all of those games too.
Oh yeah.
So his emotional state was so deeply rooted that it was if they won, this man could not. I mean, you could not control his happiness. If they lost, there wasn't enough Ambien in the world to calm him down and put him down to sleep or something. There just wasn't enough. So it was. So yeah, there was no doubt. And those who admit otherwise, I think are lying to themselves and lying to the people.
Two legendary holes in press box walls that I know of, and one was Andy Beyer at Gulfstream Park. I don't know if you remember that. I think they even put a frame around it of sorts, and just left the hole there, where he put a hole in the drywall after being DQ'd in a pick six, which he got blown out of like $1 million, $200,000 payoff. Put his fist right through the wall there, right by the bar where they used to give you the freebie drinks. And Sonny Hirsch, I think, had punched a hole in the wall. It was either Sonny or Dave Lamont after a Hurricane loss in the Orange Bowl press box. But I want to go with Sonny on that. And what you were saying is absolutely the truth, Tony Segreto, because I would do baseball with Sonny, be sitting there for like 4 hours. And Sonny, this predated like all the internet stuff, and he had the score phone. Remember that as part of a beeper?
Oh, yeah.
And he would end up incorporating some of his emotional reaction to losing bets right into the Hurricane game, where he would say something like, "And the Hurricanes are up 6-5 here over the University of Maine Bears, but unfortunately Detroit is down 6-5 to the White Sox."
Yeah.
You're like, Sonny, where are you getting that from? But he had action on every game. I mean, he literally had action on every game. It was fantastic to watch.
No, he did, and he did not break a wall in the press box. What he did do though, when Flutie hit Phelan, he did slam the table and like the sort of like the bar area. I'm describing it as a bar, but use that as the description where we had our equipment. And our Mr. Fix-It, we called him, who was our engineer. I mean, he hit that bar area so hard that it snapped off with all the equipment falling off.
Oh no!
And he really hurt his hand. And listen, we could do an entire month on Sonny. We talked about the expense report that he did on you. Oh my gosh. We would go out to dinner, and I would have my per diem from IOD, and he was an employee. I was just a contractor, and he would always go, "Hey, why not? What are you putting in? Tell me what you're putting in. I don't want to get caught again." And that must from you.
Oh, so that was a regular thing. That wasn't just that one time from Omaha.
Yeah. I don't want to get caught again. So I go, Sonny, you do what you want. You tell me what you are going to do, and then I will follow suit. I don't care, because we're all kind of on the same path. But it was fun. And then the legendary Deckerhoff would always come in and be amazed at what Sonny would have. Sometimes little miniature scotches lined up, and Deckerhoff would come in and look in our suite where we had our radio set up, and he would just shake his head and go, I don't even know what to say, and he'd turn around and walk out.
A legendary dude, there's no question about it, and a real trip to travel with. All right, so speaking of traveling, I know you're on the road, and you're going to get hungry at some point, and this is great. This gentleman fits the bill. Texas Roadhouse Restaurants, of course, a longtime sponsor of Old School with Tony Segreto. We welcome Ed Garcia.
Good morning.
Telecast here. Ed, you're looking good today, my friend.
Thanks. It's green. It's Wednesday, so time to go in and make some of that money.
Good morning, Ed. Hey, listen,
good morning, Tony. How are you?
I'm doing great. You know what's really cool is that when you hit these exits, as you approach an exit, they tell you like what's at that exit. And I can't tell you how proudly displayed Texas Roadhouse is on these exits. So it's great for me. I can pop in for an early dinner, or depending on what time I'm getting in, a late dinner, grab myself a beverage, have myself my little blackened salmon as per your suggestion, and I'm a happy man. But it doesn't matter. I dropped into one last night, and it was about 8:30. And it was still jamming. I mean, it was incredible. It was really incredible. And I did the blackened salmon like you told me to with the salad, and it was outstanding.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is my favorite dish. It definitely makes me feel like I'm eating on the healthier side, but you're getting away with just an awesome piece of product. And then if you don't get it on top of the salad, that, made from scratch tartar sauce is absolutely out of this world. It's, it's so rare these days to go somewhere and, have your meal cooked to order, where it doesn't go in what I call that time machine, otherwise known as a microwave. It's just done there fresh, and when we start that salmon, I'll tell you, we make our own lemon pepper butter. We make 4 butters at Texas Roadhouse. We make Lubie's favorite, that honey cinnamon, which goes with the fresh baked bread. That's right. And then we make that a garlic butter, a normal whipped butter, and a lemon pepper butter. And that lemon pepper butter, that's what accents that salmoning, just makes it feel so awesome. And then just a very simple seasoning with some salt and pepper. So that's our secret behind it, but it's a great dish. And then obviously, the in-house secret is, added it blackened. So that is a great product right there.
So just to get it again for our listeners and those who are watching to understand, when you order your steak, your chicken, your fish, whatever it is at Texas Roadhouse, it's not like ready to go and they warm it up. This is something that's done right then, right there, and the salad's not pre-prepared. They put it together, they put the dressing on, so it's all coming to you fresh, hot, and just made. Correct?
That is 100% right. I tell you, on a Friday, Saturday, and I'm telling you, we're so busy these days, and we're very, very thankful for that. But we're running almost 30 people back there on that line. And, so from the steak spot, we have almost 4 people, getting the steaks ready, 2 people preparing the salads. To get that out to you in a timely, fresh manner. But you're 100% right. And, unlike maybe some other concepts, I'll tell you, even the mashed potatoes and all that is someone's specific job. And they're doing that all day. Every 15 minutes, we're opening up the oven doors. We're pulling out the baked potatoes, the sweet potatoes, and they're making the fresh potatoes, corn, and green beans. It's quite a process. I feel like sometimes, Barnum or Bailey, just running the 3 rings back there. But, it is just such an awesome piece to do. So.
Well,
Ed Garcia, yeah.
If we haven't made them hungry, Jeff, if we haven't made anyone hungry right now, then we didn't do our job. Because I'm like looking for Texas Roadhouse now, wishing it were open for breakfast.
Yeah, holy Easter Sunday. My God, Ed. That all sounds great. Ed, always a pleasure, my friend. I'm hoping the Lakers don't snatch Juwan Howard from you. That was subject to speculation. And your Wolverine, so it looks like he's probably going to stick there. But thanks so much for joining us. Always a pleasure. And amazingly, too, Texas Roadhouse, the way you guys keep the prices down, especially in times like this where inflation is like at 10% every day. Really, really incredible. Great value, great restaurant. Thanks so much, Ed, for your support and for being with us here on the show.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
All right, Ed Garcia, ladies and gentlemen. More old school coming up with Tony Segreto. He's on the road. He was with us visually, and that kind of crapped out on us, but nonetheless, always a pleasure having Tony with us on the show. Well, we'll talk some more with Tony Segreto going old school here on the Defo Show. That's Mike Lubitz. I'm Jeff Deforrest, and we'll be back with more with Tony Segreto in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:23.
It's Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. You're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. Good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business, and the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Before you call your insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752.
We've finally found some fulfillment here on this program as we're sending 2 families to professional wrestling, and we had that kid skip school to get the tickets to the Dolphin game. We feel like we're reaching a measure of distinction here. Now, there's no more distinguished guy in South Florida broadcasting history than the man who joins us next, and that is Tony Segreto. We go old school with Tony Segreto.
He makes charitable work, his life work, so he's mocking us now for what we are proud of, our endeavor.
I am not mocking. I am not. I'm not mocking you. I just don't even know how to respond to that. Would not have expected anything less than that kind of intro today. When I heard that gentleman win the tickets to the wrestling and he's taking his children, I saw the wheels. I saw the comedy writer in Defo's head, like trying to write as fast as he could, just to figure out what's next.
I have to write everything down now, Tony, because I can't remember my own name. It's written here on a sheet, the Defo Show.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto.
Welcome back to the show. Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubie, Lubitz, the Defo Show here on On Channel. Tony Segreto's on the road. He's en route to Vermont. His dig's in Vermont, which I don't know if he's going to be there for like, what is this, April, mid-April? Is he going to be there till like next year? What's going on with that? Tony Segreto with us, Old School with Tony Segreto, brought to you by Catholic Health Services. And it was great seeing Ed Garcia of Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. It really is an amazing place. I know he described a lot of the food there, and we talk about them all the time, but how they're keeping the prices as low as they are.
They haven't changed.
And producing that level of quality and doing it in the quantity, too, that they're doing. Yep. Just absolutely incredible job by the restaurant chain, and all individually operated. So it's kind of a chain, but local, with a local flavor to it, which really makes it a very unique operation. And that's why part of the reason they're so successful. Speaking of success, Tony Segreto with us here. And it's funny, too, because it's the beginning. Tony, I wanted to touch on this because I don't know what your recollections are of this, but we're going to go real old school here. Because one of the big moments and the transformational moments in South Florida sports history came when the USFL was in existence. And Woody Weiser, who I guess was like a Coconut Grove developer or something, seemed like a pretty sophisticated and reasonably honorable businessman. I don't know. Maybe is he in prison now? I'm not sure whatever happened to Woody Weiser. I might have even passed away. And he lured Howard Schnellenberger to coach the potential would-be Miami entry in the USFL. And so Howard left the University of Miami. And, that opened the door for, a long series of historic runs by a variety of coaches, including what put Jimmy Johnson on the map more than his job at the University of Miami. He was still obscure there at Oklahoma State. And, this was an event that never took place that changed the course of history. Because I always thought that what if Howard had just stayed at the University of Miami? Would he have had like a Bear Bryant type of legacy, by being there all of those years? I don't know. Do you remember back to that? Because I remember going to a press conference at a building in Coconut Grove where they made the announcement that Howard was going to be the coach of the team. That never came about.
Yeah, no, I remember it like it was yesterday. And, it was an amazing change of history for Howard, too. I mean, think about Howard's legacy after that, that fell through. He went to the University of Oklahoma. That didn't work out. He went to Louisville, which did work out. It was an amazing run for him. I mean, there isn't a time where I'm not driving through Louisville and I pass that stadium, the stadium that Howard built. And after his passing, they gave him a full grand, send off that was truly remarkable. And then to do that same thing at FAU. I just, his legacy is just, unmatched. And then you talk about Jimmy, and I'm going to go back to when FSU hired Mike Norvell, and I'm not really being sarcastic here, although it's going to probably come out that way. But Lubie was, how can that be? We don't know who Mike Norvell is, on and on and on. Well, I remember when Sam Jankovic brought Jimmy Johnson in, it was like, are you kidding me right now? We just lost Howard Schnellenberger, who's passing the ball all over the field. You know, he's got these speedy, amazing wide receivers. He's changed the entire outlook of our offense where other schools can't keep up with us. And we're going to bring a guy in from basically the Big Eight at the time and, you know, runs the football and runs the football and runs the football. How is this going to work? No one's heard of him. You know, on and on and on. I don't care what Barry Switzer says. I don't care what Jerry Jones says. Yes, great player, all these things. And people are just bitching. And look at what happened. You know, he not only maintained the level of the program, but took the program to yet another level, won the national championships, and to this day is devoted to that university where it's, you know, that's, even though Jimmy won his Super Bowls with Dallas, I mean, he is still identified as the U with the man. So I think it's just a great testimony to Jimmy, and rest his soul, Sam Jankovic, for having the vision to bring Jimmy in.
What was the name of that team going to be? It wasn't the Miami Sharks, because that was the team in Any Given Sunday that LT was on. What was it? What was the name of that USFL team going to be, Tony? Do you remember? I can't think of it.
No, I don't recall. Maybe Lubitz can look it up. But I mean, that whole USFL, and you know, remember Zonka and Kit went to the other league. Warfield went to the other league.
They went to the World Football League. They went to the World Football League, not the USFL.
Yeah, to the World. As I said, the other league, the World Football League that was trying to start up. It was just this whole thing of, you know, trying to start up new leagues and let's pay the big money to lure the big names. I mean, when Zonka and Kit left, oh my Lord, and Warfield left, that was such a huge deal. Remember that? I mean, that was just as big as you can imagine, and that fell through. And you know, and here we have, Zonka then going to the Giants, and that whole saga that happened there. But again, to your point, the change of history with Jimmy, and then after Jimmy, Dennis Erickson. I mean, on and on. The coaches, as a result of Howard's one decision that made their name at the University of Miami, would not have happened had Howard not done that.
Yeah, you had Butch Davis, there, and then unfortunately the legacy stopped, with Larry Coker, who still, had enough talent on the team to nearly go unbeaten 2 straight years before they figured out that, maybe head coaching wasn't Larry's bag. Right? Nicest guy in the world, too. Looked a little bit like Mr. Magoo, Larry Coker, to me. But, no, that was interesting. And, I can't remember what the reason was, why the team never came into existence. And then Howard was just kind of floating around. And Jimmy, as I recall, that first season, the team didn't perform all that well either. I mean, they were like 8-5 or some non-distinguishable record like that. It didn't take off right away for Jimmy, but then he established that he was even wilder in some senses throwing the ball, especially in my favorite game, of course, was when he threw the ball up 55-3 over Notre Dame and was still throwing bombs. It was great.
Yeah,
Carsegian went crazy.
Listen,
legendary stuff.
That first year, what was so tough for Jimmy was that when Sam Jankovic hired Jimmy, the understanding was that at least first year, because of how everything happened and how everything happened so quickly, Sam said to Jimmy, "You have to keep all of his assistants."
Yeah.
Well, that did not go well. That did not go well at all. As you know as well as anyone, Defo, head coaches want their loyal buddies around them. They want people who are going to be loyal, who are good at what they do, and are not going to, cause problems. Well, that didn't happen. And that first year for Jimmy was miserable. And I could document, I'm not going to give names, I could document stories of coaches that just was difficult. And then after that first year, you go back, then you'll see what happened, how Jimmy brought in Butch Davis and all these and Gary Stevens and all these
Wannstedt, yeah.
things.
Dave Wannstedt, one of his guys.
Yeah, and things. Yeah, his closest friend, Dave, and things flipped really quickly, and that was the anvil that was around Jimmy's neck the entire year, and trying to do his deal with Howard's coaches and Howard's players. It's hard enough to do it with the other coaches' players and a new coaching staff. Now you keep that old coaching staff around, and you've got players who are going, "What is this guy doing?" and complaining to the coaches they know. It just does not. It does not make good soup on the stove, for sure, and it proved out that way.
Well, and Tony, we're talking about the good old days with the Canes. It's funny we got onto this topic because lately on Twitter, you've had a lot of excited Canes fans, and I think Canes fans should be excited. They've gone and spent money for the first time in 4 decades. They have brought in a staff that can rival any staff in the country. They're working on facilities. They're doing all the things they haven't done in the past, the things that Jimmy Johnson complained about all the way back in the freaking 80s. You're on the board. You're on the program. My contention I'm a Noel fan, but people don't realize, and Defo makes fun of me, but I had never gone to an FSU game until I went to FSU. I had gone to dozens of Canes games. Like my grandfather went there. I had been going down to the campus every Saturday because my grandmother worked there my entire life. So I always had a soft spot for the Canes. And I always heard my dad and my grandfather bitch that they won, but there was always like this aura of sort of not going for it. And then we saw that the bottoms of the dregs of the last 20 years, Canes fans are really excited. You know what's going on more than anyone. I'm curious. Is this sustainable, what they're doing financially? Because right now they're spending as much as anyone in college football.
Yeah, and they're doing it the right way. They're doing it in a very mindful way. Mario is very mindful. He's doing a beautiful job of merging the past with the present. And the one thing he doesn't want to do is live in the past, but he wants to use the past as the foundation. Right? This is we're standing on these people's shoulders, right? And we have a legacy to live up to. We have a standard to live up to, and that standard we have to reset every day. And he is really about motivating his players, but using the power of the mind of his players. I know Jimmy was huge on that, absolutely huge. And I think that Mario and the staff that he's done and the money they're throwing at this, again, they're not just throwing money. Okay, you can do that. Schools can afford to do that. But this isn't about throwing money at anything. This is about taking the money that you have and being mindful with it and making smart decisions. And that's what Miami appears to have done so far. I mean, one of the things that Mario, I keep hearing over again, especially from some of the critical people that I speak with, is that they're just excited about this staff and how the staff is relating to the players. And again, you can be the greatest coach in the world and have the greatest theories in the world and schemes, but if you can't relate that to your players and apply that to the talent you have, those schemes and those theories are worthless. And the excitement is, as you mentioned, the staff, people are excited about it, and they're excited about how the staff is working with the team. And we're going to see a lot of this on Saturday with the spring game. And again, I think people have to keep in mind this is not a flip the switch and all of a sudden we're the number one team in the country again. It doesn't work that way. It would be nice, and who knows? But I think you need to be mindful again that this is I hate to keep using that word process because it goes back to what's going on in Alabama, but it's truly a process that Miami's going to go through, and a reset of culture that they're going to get right, and things are going to turn around, and we're going to be happy with what we see.
It's funny you mentioned the spring game because in years gone by, I was at this event in any number of broadcasting capacities. Sideline, they would televise the game. I remember being a sideline reporter. They would do the game on a radio. I think I was the PA announcer for it a few times, and it was amazing the pulse that was going along with inside the city for University of Miami football because it wasn't inappropriate to go ahead and pay this kind of attention to a spring football game here, but If you hadn't mentioned this, I would have no idea that it was taking place this Saturday. Tony Segreto, and unless they brought in like Colin Kaepernick to throw a couple of balls, just to show that he still had it for the NFL. This struck me while you were talking, Tony. Were you ever at the Orange Bowl bar? And is it still open? Because now, obviously, the Canes don't play there anymore. You do have Marlins baseball in that area. I mean, with the Orange Bowl bar, do you remember this place? And as I recall, it was always jammed, like before and after, and maybe even during Hurricane football games. The Orange Bowl bar, which looked like a real dump, and I can't say that I recall ever being in there, although I want to say that I might have been at one time.
I was in there a number of times. I really don't know if it's there. I know that another legendary bar that was around the area that was really more in Miami, downtown Miami, was Tobacco Road.
Oh yeah, people went there. And Monty Trainer, right? Wasn't that the guy, Monty Trainer? Was it Monty Trainer?
That's in the Grove. Yeah, that's in the Grove, and that's where everybody would go after the game. And Monty's is still there. It's still at the Grove and still thriving. And God bless Monty Trainer, still one of the biggest supporters that the UM has had and continues to have. But yeah, I mean those were legendary haunts that carried the ghosts of all the Hurricanes that played before them. And I think that we have to look these things up. I don't even know. I don't know if it's still there. I with all the renovation going on in that area, my guess would be that it's not. But I would love to know if it's there because it was quite the place. Stories were told and lies were shared, and it was quite a place to go before and after a game. Great.
Yeah, you just pictured it, as one of those places, that just reeked of beer everywhere, and all of the people reeked of beer, and it was the insane crowd that was going to Hurricane football games, both coming and going. I want to say maybe it's got like a couple of the windows boarded up. I'm not sure. The Orange Bowl bar, I would imagine it's not exactly a hot spot because it's sort of out of the way, from the ballpark. You wouldn't be inclined to. I don't know if there's a lot of tailgating going on from Marlins baseball games. There aren't a lot of people at Marlins games. And the way it's going, Tony, I don't know. Have you caught any of this action so far this year with the Marlins and Don Mattingly? I think he's going to get kicked out of every game because there appears to be some kind of conspiracy to have the umpires just hose this team on a nightly basis. And they aren't that great to begin with. I mean, it's not like they're horrible, but, every night it's another screw job. Tony, have you seen any of this so far?
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, I know we're going to be talking about it soon, but all I'm thinking about is poor Mattingly. I mean, his blood pressure must be way out of control, and I'm thinking the Catholic Health Services better be nearby because
he's going to have a stroke. Exactly.
He is going through it, and you're right. I mean, and you never want to say that an umpire or an official or a referee or some sort of whatever it is blowing a game for you, because you always think to yourself, and what you say to yourself and you say to your team is you had opportunities that shouldn't have come down to this. But there are times when you just shake your head and go, what are these people seeing? What is it that I don't get? And to see Mattingly, every manager wants to show their team they're sticking up for him, but Mattingly's not like an Earl Weaver or a Chuck Tanner, guys like that who just went off for anything. Billy Martin. I mean, I was sitting on a Yankee bench during Billy Martin's era, and I would just listen to this man ride the umpires relentlessly for 9 innings. I mean, he would not stop. It was remarkable. And umpires, some would laugh it off, and some would come over and would say, "Shut the F up or we're throwing you out." And Billy would go, "Okay, try it." And he would just ride him even harder. I mean, it was incredible. And, and Mattingly isn't one of these guys. So when you get him to that level of rage, he's out there, you know that he feels a major injustice has been done.
Well, they come right back the next night and hose them again. And people always say this, and it's been a conversation that's very common ever since the implementation of instant replay. It's like, why have replay if you're going to make calls like that,
Yeah,
Michael? You don't come to Las Vegas and talk to a man like Mo Green like that, Michael. I mean, you watch this replay, and it appears to everybody, the announcers, the players, everybody, that this guy is out at second base, that he had been picked off. He slides in there. Oh, no, he was stealing a base. Throw is high. He's off the bag, both his hand and his foot, as the tag is on him. And they look at the replay, and they decide he's safe anyway.
Yeah.
And Mattingly was incredulous. And then, of course, the guy ends up scoring the winning run in the ninth inning, where there would have been 2 outs, nobody on, and the entire picture and spectrum dynamic of the ball game would have changed. And you're in disbelief that this call could possibly stand. I mean, we see it in the NFL, and so it's odd that 2 nights in a row, first you on balls and strikes, and then on a play that was reviewed by whoever reviews this, some committee in New York, right? Like Harry Wendelstadt or something is looking at this film in New York, and you were looking at the guy, the tags on him, nothing's on the bag, and they call the guy safe anyway. So. A rough start, but I don't know. You're not a conspiracy theorist. It does seem like there's a movement afoot to sabotage the Marlins' early season results. That I don't know if it's tied to gamblers in Russia or whatever, but somehow they seem to be getting screwed night after night.
The drive for 65, I guess they're aware of it. Is that what we're doing?
It's like 75 though this year. There are more optimistic expectations for the Marlins this year. I mean, they do have, potentially some decent pitching. This guy struck out 12 guys. He's a local kid, right? Luzardo?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, he grew up in like Hialeah or something.
Yeah, Hialeah, yep.
So,
your opinion, what do you think about the Aaron Judge thing? What do you think about that deal?
I don't know. I never understand this stuff. I mean, look, if you're in a position to reject $230 million as if it was an insult, I mean, what does the world come to? I'm a big Aaron Judge fan. I think he represents a lot of good things. Everybody, all of the, conversation is that he wants to be a Yankee for life. I mean, the guy's the second coming of Luke Gehrig here. And, he's a great player, real entertaining to watch, always exciting. He's one of those guys like Willie Stargell or, some of the great hitters of the past, power hitters that every time he grabs a bat, you're thinking, okay, something big could happen here. And he's more consistent than the average modern-day power hitter who's going to hit 206 and knock 40 out of the park. I mean, he's going to be around 300, and he does other things with the bat, that need to be accomplished to be effective as a team. But it seemed like a reasonable amount of money. No, Tony, I don't know. I mean, I've never been in a position to turn down, that kind of capital. Or, and it's not like he said it was an insult, but he's taking a big risk, too, because he's had injury problems, and now he's got 1 year left on a contract.
Yeah, I agree. And at some point, I wonder how he really feels. Like, they're being advised by agents. They're being advised by people they trust. And deep down inside, there has to be part of you, part of that conscience that is, buried within you, that when the offer comes in at $230 million, you got to be thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, I never in my wildest dreams ever thought I could make this kind of money. And then you have someone, in your ear telling you, you probably could make more.
Yeah. Well, that was like a 7-year deal, and they were going to jack up his salary this year to something more appropriate to his level of play.
Yeah. So I gotta wonder at what point do you say to the agent or whoever's advising you, "This is all I need. This is enough."
Yeah, I could get out with 230. I could
get out with 1.
Yeah.
And I'm not I'm not disrespecting Aaron. I understand where they're coming from. Make it while you can. God bless him if he can get more. I get it. But you say to yourself, how much more do you need in your life than $230 million? How much more can you possibly want out of life with more than $230 million that you can't do, that you can't get? You can get your plane, You can get your 4 homes. You can get all those things. Not to mention that money's going to make you more money anyway. All you have to do is invest it wisely, and you've got all these people doing it for you. So
only Mike Tyson could lose that much money in a lifetime and end up broke. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to blow that. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I mean, how much more do you need in life? I realize.
But then you're looking at guys. I mean, the standard, and I don't know how much ego's attached to it, but you know, you got Bryce Harper making $330. You have other guys making $300 million. Lindor had a lousy season last year in New York, and he's getting $340. Tatis, all of these guys. You know, you're thinking, why aren't I worth that? Stanton on his own team is getting $325 across 10 years. So, but I mean, it averages out to about the same. I'm with you. I mean, look, it's unimaginable for the average guy to think somebody's going to offer you anything close to that. If it was $23 million back in the day, you would have said, "My God, how could anybody in their right mind turn that down?" But I suppose, you know, there's some logic to his position, and whoever it is that's working with him has to hope he doesn't tear an ACL. That's about it.
Yeah, and with that kind of holdout and getting more comes even a bigger responsibility, right? People are going to be expecting even more out of you, no matter what you've done, and no matter what you've done, you're getting paid for what you've done, and hoping that you can continue that. Correct? And when you get kind of go, the responsibility that goes on your shoulders afterwards becomes enormous. And now, can you live up to it? And
we've seen guys collapse, you know, and have awful years. Yeah, right after signing. It happens, but no, I like Aaron Judge. I hope he gets whatever it is that satisfies him. And you know, as a sports fan, I'd like to see him stay with the Yankees because you know, he kind of seems to be the face of the franchise at this point. And so it'd be nice if they resolve that. But if you know, and you mentioned this, I mean, maybe Brian Cashman had a stroke when this offer was refused, or started to feel some symptoms. And if something does happen to you, Tony Segreto, you know where to go, and that's Catholic Health Services.
Absolutely. And April is National Stress Awareness Month. And I think if there is one, I mean, we talk a lot about what COVID has done to this country. We should probably be talking about what stress has done to this country and what it does to each and every one of us every day. And, you know, we were sort of tongue-in-cheek with Don Mattingly, but the stress that he's under, coaches and players and our everyday lives, you know, the workforce today, much different than the workforce 25 years ago. It was, you know, they demand justice. They want more flexibility to manage their personal and professional lives. And stress is a big predictor of what happens to our bodies, whether it's, you know, people get sick because of stress. And I think, again, this is where you can utilize Catholic Health Services. They're here to help people. They're here to help people manage that stress. They're here to help people recover from strokes and different kinds of surgeries. And they're all about making you not just healthier, but keeping you healthy. And that's one of the things that we need to continue to recognize, that especially with April being National Stress Awareness Month, that there are all these predictors that we're faced with every day. Is how do we handle the stress? How do we handle the pressures of rising gas prices? How do we handle the pressures of COVID? And again, this is where Catholic Health Services is here to educate. They're here to help us manage, and they're here to help us understand how we can make our lives better. And they do it every day with compassionate people, brilliant people who love what they do, from doctors to the caregivers, to the therapists, to the nurses, to the administrators. The moment you walk in and call somebody or walk in the building and they take you in, and they keep the family involved. We talk about this almost ad nauseum, but we cannot stress, people and I cannot stress enough, and Lubie too, how important it is, especially when your loved one is rehabbing or not well, that the doctors and nurses and staff stay informed with you and keep you informed as to what's going on. Again, I will use this as an example. One of my wife's family members still in the hospital, and it's been a month since anyone has been able to actually speak with a doctor.
What?
Wow. Unconscionable. And that happened with Catholic Health Services. You can ask Defo with what happened with his mom. What a difference. So please keep in mind Catholic Health Services for whatever you need. Even if you just need to talk to somebody, they are there for you. They are there for you, and they will listen and advise you as to what you need to do. Special people.
All right, Tony on the road. We'll come back and wrap up this edition of Old School with Tony Segreto in just a moment here on Ion Channel. The Defo Show featuring one Mike Lubitz very prominently lately. Mike Lubitz in all publicity releases. It's now it's getting close, Tony, to being a Lubie show with Jeff Defo, Deforrest. All right, we're coming back with more. We'll wrap things up with Tony in a moment. Now that
The time.
it's 8:55. Poker is your game. You're covered in style. And you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Catholic Health Services is committed to care that changes as your needs do. Our full continuum of services is designed to be there throughout your care journey. If you need assistance with daily living, post-acute care following a serious health event, or additional medical care at home, we also offer skilled nursing and palliative and hospice care. Your care needs may change, but our commitment never does. Catholic Health Services, South Florida's #1 choice for post-acute and end-of-life care. Visit CatholicHealthServices.org.
That's okay. You were known as Keith Wilkes when you were broadcasting here in South Florida on TV. As